standing here today in a very important place in American history. Let's go back to 1957 in Little Rock, Arkansas.
The story of Little Rock 9 happens at the Little Rock Central High School. Little Rock Central High School was desegregated in 1957 by the Little Rock 9 at a great personal risk to themselves and to their families. Their efforts represented the beginning of the desegregation of the area of the U.S. most hostile to integration, the Deep South. To better understand what happens here, let's step back further to 1954. More than a decade before the Civil Rights Act became law. That year, the historic U.S. Supreme Court case, Brown v. the Board of Education, happened, in which Brown sued the Board of Education over the issue of school equality. The Supreme Court justices unanimously decided that all laws segregating schools were unconstitutional, overturning the 1896 ruling that segregated schools were legal. In the South, desegregation from this had moved slowly. In Little Rock, Arkansas, the school board had approved its desegregation plan in 1955. The plan begins during the fall of the 1957 school year, with only the Little Rock Central High to be integrated. Leading up to the fall of '57, resistance to desegregation grew across the South, including senators from Arkansas urging southern states to resist integration. Segregationists predicted violence would erupt if desegregation started in Little Rock. They were right. On the first day of school at Little Rock, Arkansas, a mob completely covered the front lawn and street in front of Little Rock Central High School in protest. These kids, Gloria Ray, Terrence Roberts, Melba Patillo, Jefferson Thomas, Caroletta Walls, Thelma Mothershed, Minnie Brown, Elizabeth Eckford, and Ernest Green, were lucky to make it even to the front doors. The reporters who stood between the 9 children and the mob took on the violence that erupted for the new thing that was live TV. The reporters were violently attacked by the mob. A man in the crowd jumped on newspaper reporter Alex Wilson and choked him. When he broke free, another person threw a brick at his head, causing serious injuries. The reporters had to report the whole scene from around the corner in the gas station, which actually still exists. At the door, the 9 students discovered that the governor had sent in the state guard to block in any black kids entering the school. There was nothing the Little Rock 9 could do that day, so they all had to go home.
General, your report to the governor this morning will be most favorable on the situation here, I assume.
Oh, yes. I think the governor has done what he set out to do. The governor, as I understand it, set out to alleviate a situation he saw building up. And from that standpoint, I think he has alleviated that situation.
He had not. In fact, it made national headlines.
The people around the country were absolutely appalled that this was happening.
So much that the president made an address on it.
The orders of the court have thus been frustrated. The very basis of our individual rights and freedoms rests upon the certainty that the President and the executive branch of government will support and ensure the carrying out of the decisions of the federal court, even when necessary, with all the means at the President's command.
A federal judge had to be brought in to get the governor to remove the state guard. Police were brought in to escort the kids to school. They entered through a side entrance, hoping the mob wouldn't notice, and at first they didn't. But after about 3 hours, the mob had learned that they were in school, and they started breaking through the place barrier in front of the school. The staff started to worry for the safety of the kids, both black and white, so the Little Rock 9 had to leave school.
Even when necessary, with all the means at the President's command.
He meant what he said, because the very next day, there were 1,000 National Guard troops stationed all around the school just to escort the 9 kids. They could have done with 100, but he went with 1,000. And they stayed there throughout the whole year. And with that, they finally went to school for a full day. Governor Faubus's reaction to all this?
My fellow citizens, on Tuesday, September 24th, the cleverly conceived plans of the Justice Department under Herbert Brownell for the military occupation of Arkansas were placed in execution. The entire Arkansas National Guard and Air Guard were federalized and are now a part of the United States Army and the United States Air Force. We are now an occupied territory.
Calling Arkansas an occupied territory. That might sound like a bit of an exaggeration, which in all fairness it was, but not at the school. The school's being treated like an occupied territory to make a statement to the mob, just so the kids could go to school.
Nonetheless, Little Rock 9 were bullied in and out of school by kids and grown-ups alike.
Except in class, because the classes themselves still segregated. The 9 black kids had their own class. The black kids and the white kids weren't actually together in class. But anywhere else, bullying. Gloria Ray was pushed down an entire flight of stairs. Malibu Patillo had acid thrown in her face. When Gloria Ray's mother refused to move her daughter from the school, her boss fired her. When Minnie Jean Brown fought back from the bullying, she was expelled from school. The kids passed around a note saying, 1 down, 8 to go. You might think they were safe at home. But nope. Carol Walls had a bomb thrown at her home.
Finally, the school year of 1957-1958
came to a close, and Ernest Green, the only senior of the Little Rock 9, graduated. He was given the opportunity to receive his diploma through the mail, but he declined the offer. When Green was walking across the stage, he realized that the only people clapping was his family. He found out after the graduation ceremony that Martin Luther King had made the trip to Little Rock to see him graduate.
While Martin wasn't famous enough to have streets named after him yet, Green was still a very proud graduate, especially with the $15 check Green got from Martin.
Before school started for the following year in September 1958, the citizens of Little Rock voted whether to have the next school year integrated or to not have school at all. Little Rock overwhelmingly voted to close their public schools, with the vote of 19,470 to 7,561. Such as white students from Little Rock Central High attended private schools that year. Everyone else was shut out from their high school education.
The Little Rock 9 put a need for civil rights in the spotlight.
The Central High School situation played out on every TV and in every newspaper across America. No one could have imagined that this city's resistance to court-ordered desegregation would have the national impact that it did, Carol Walls said. At that time, in 1957, civil rights had not yet grown into a movement. It was still a series of individual events. Shocking events, like the Little Rock 9. The Little Rock 9 weren't going to school to make a political statement. As Ernest Green, the first black student to graduate, said that making history is not something we aspire to do. Ernest and the other 8 black teenagers just wanted to go to education. Their educational right under the law. These teenagers showed an immense amount of courage, bravery, and determination.
Decades later, in 1999, a special ceremony was held in the White House where each of the Little Rock 9 was awarded a Congressional Gold Medal.
A Congressional Gold Medal is the highest honor that Congress can give to a civilian. Elizabeth Eckford once said, "The only way we can have true reconciliation is if we honestly acknowledge our painful but shared past. It is important to recognize and look back at our country's history, even when it is painful." The Little Rock 9 teens courageously came before us and contributed through their suffering to help advance our society. Let this shared past of ours inspire future contribution for a better tomorrow.